Howdy folks, Casey LaCourse coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada with another video showcase of Hearts of the West. It's cowboy poetry and Western music and a whole lot of entertainment. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this. Now, I usually start off reciting one of my poems, but tonight I'm going to recite from a friend's, her name is Susan O'Connell. She lives in Southern California, and she's won awards for her poetry, and she's had them published in the Western magazines. And this one is titled Nettie Rogan by Susan O'Connell. Nettie Rogan was a working girl who had herself a fine trade. Her cabin sat on Alder Gulch, and the miners happily paid. But Nettie was a tidy girl, and one thing she did insist, her callers had to take a bath before they even get kissed. Now everyone knew of Nettie's odd whim. To ignore it would simply be rude, but this bathing became an excellent means to know when not to intrude. For each time a man prepared for his turn, his misery always brought smiles. You see, by jumping into that freezing creek, his screams could be heard for miles. All right, thank you, Susan. That was Nettie Rogan, Susan O'Connell. That was pretty funny. All right, let's get right to the showcase. I know you're going to enjoy it, and I'll see you next Tuesday with another new showcase for you of Hearts of the West.
Hi guys, this is Vic. Casey, thanks for inviting me, and Mark and Bryce, thanks for jumping in so that I could take some time off, because I had two of the blackest eyes that you could imagine could happen from a Kindle. I know you've heard of it going to sleep and hitting you like this, but I laid the Kindle down alongside myself, and I pulled the blankets up, and that Kindle flipped up in the air, and the corner of it hit me right there, and I, bang, big deal. I shut it off and turned over to go to sleep, and woke up with a black eye the next morning. This one was black, and a big black spot on my head. And the next day I had another one, and I finally ended up with big raccoon eyes, and it's finally gone. So I'm back, and thanks once again, Casey, for inviting me. This song is called Day's End, and it's about a place in Montana, pretty close to where I was born and raised, just south of White Sulphur Springs, where my boys and I grew up together. The day is through, the shadows fall, I'm heading back home. The sunset is pointing the way. The cat lies down, tried here about the mountains of gold. It's the end of a long summer's day. And as I go, I hear a crow, a loon's faded cry, a whispered tone, so soft and low, the wind gentle sigh. And on that breeze, out from the tree, and our own shadows by, the moon through gold shows glimmer low, my campfire is nigh. Oh, oh, yeah, oh, sweated and tired, he longs now for oats and fresh hay. The saddle stripped, he rolls and wrists, and rolls once again. Then he shakes off the dust of the day. When supper is gone, I stretch and yawn, the night back and so. And then I turn to watch the burn of campfires bright that we love. Day's End. Now, Casey asked me what inspires my songwriting, and I gotta say, pretty much everything. Just about everything. I wrote one about my hat being blown off in the wind. This one is about a place that my boys now went. I've written a couple about that place. So there's outdoors and cattle and moving cattle and being on horses and such, but just about anything. My poems, for example, I've got one about getting his false teeth through a catalog or through a newspaper. You know, about anything can inspire a song. Casey also wanted me to do a yodel, so I'm going to do a quick yodel called Chime Bells. Out on the mountain, so happy and free, there lives a maiden, she's a-waiting for me. Out on the lake, we'll drift with the tide, we'll hear those chime bells ring. Chime bells are ringing, oh-lo-dee-a-dee-dee, mockingbirds singing, a-dee-lo-dee-a-dee-dee. Sleep, my little lover, oh-lo-dee-a-dee-dee, up on the summer's eve. A-dee-o-lo-dee-da-do-dee, oh-lo-dee-o-dee-o-dee-dee. Also, she asked what the favorite movie quote might be, and I'm not much of a movie buff, but we go see them and stuff. I prefer comedies or musical comedies. But when I was growing up, my dad always said, if you're going to do something, jump in with both feet, or jump in and get your feet wet. So I suppose if I was going to come up with a favorite quote from a movie, it'd be when Tuco was in the bathtub, and forget it was going to shoot him, but they talked and talked and talked. In the meantime, Tuco shot him, and he said, if you're going to shoot, shoot, don't talk. I'd have to say that's about my favorite one. So that kind of reminded me of my dad. Give it to them and get off the horse, you know. So, Casey, once again, thanks for having me here. Thanks for doing this. This is kind of a great thing, and we do appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Ride easy, pards.
All the poems in my set are actually spring poems, so I don't know. It's spring, I guess. We had this gentleman that used, a cowboy that used to help us all the time with brandings and moving cattle and stuff, and he was a bit of a horse trader, and we bought a number of good ranch horses from him. But then just recently we were talking about these horses, and we realized they were all 5 when we bought them. Maybe not. Anyway, this one's called Ode to My Cutting Horse. It's springtime again, and we're picking and choosing which heifers is winning and which ones is losing. And just when we thought we'd had the best ones picked out, my Larry, he starts to have just a shadow of a doubt. And he says to me, you know that old cow number 10? She's been a dandy. We best cut her heifer on out of that pen. Well, I know just how busy my Larry can be, and when he says we, it most likely means me. Yeah. And I looked at them yearlings and I thought, oh, good luck. He wants me to cut out one heifer in that pen full of muck. Well, it didn't take me too very long to decide that this was a great time to try out my new ride. So I saddled up that rebel horse and I rode into that pen. And it didn't take too long and we spotted that number 10. And we went at it kind of easy and slow. And we got her cut out, and wouldn't you know, by then that bay pony, he figured out what was up, and he kept on that heifer through the mud and the muck. All I did was hang on, and it didn't take long. That horse never faltered, never made one move wrong. And I patted his neck, said, that sure was fun. You sure are a cow-cutting son of a gun. Because when it comes to cutting cattle, this here rebel horse, he's got the knack. I reckon he knows a lot more than the dumb blonde on his back.
Hi, my name's Charlie Ewing. I'm a rancher from the Porcupine Hills of southern Alberta. One day I was up high in the hills one fall day gathering cattle, and kind of going back in my mind to what it would have been like in the early days before much settlement, going back in time. Happened to look up in the sky, there was a jet trail going across, and I thought that wouldn't have been there. This is the song that came from that. Out of the golden poplar shade into a grassy sunlit glade, a cowboy reins his horse to blow and sits and scans the slopes below for cattle. His saddle's made to rope and ride, riata and reins the braided hide, chaps and vest and hat below, just like 100 years ago. A carol. Oh, 100 years has been the king, his cricket clicks, his rowels ring, where cattle graze the slopes and hills, they practice his vaquero skills unchanging. In country made just for the cow, too dry or steep to pull the plow, the cowboy sits and drinks it in, still just like it's always been, high lonesome. No man made wonders in his sight, still can see the stars at night. He's lost in time and all alone, way out here he feels at home, contented. Oh, 100 years has been the king, his cricket clicks, his rowels ring, where cattle graze the slopes and hills, they practice his vaquero skills unchanging. And as his eyes lift to the sky, as if to watch an eagle fly, a jet trail splits the sky like lace, reminds him of his time and place. Technology is here to stay, will progress drive his kind away? Will he melt away like the mountain snow, go the way of the buffalo forgotten? Or 100 years he's been the king. His cricket clicks, his rowels ring. Where cattle graze the slopes and hills, he practices vaquero skills. Unchanging.